શ્રી રામ જય રામ જય જય રામ ઓમ 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 શ્રી રામ જય 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 રામ ઓમ શ્રી રામ
જય જય રામ ઓમ શ્રી રામ જય રામ જય જય શ્રી રામ જય રામ જય જય રામ ઓમ 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 શ્રી રામ જય રામ જય જય ઓમ શ્રી રામ જય રામ જય જય રામ 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 ઓમ શ્રી રામ राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री 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 राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम 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 श्री राम राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय 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 राम जय जय राम राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री 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 राम जय राम जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय 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 जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. 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 Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody. Today, one more Hari Om, Hari Om. We were trying to go through the contents of the boards. Today we will add one more. At the time of the centenary of Papa's Samadhi, an effort was made to bring out some hints from every chapter, which are brought out under the caption of stress to serenity. So when we go through the board, it will also be better to have that also, because so many points we would have forgotten. So chapter number 1, first of all, we are trying to make ourselves understand that we are trying to take up a journey for ourselves. Dwelling on the contents of In Quest of God, as written by Beloved Papa, is only an instrumental cause for us. What had happened in 1922, that was referring to Papa's journey. By reading Papa's journey, how will I get benefited? 1922 is different from 2023, no? So how do I really make use of those teachings to lead a purposeful life in 2023? With that perspective, we will try to go through. So from in the first chapter, there are about 9 points. Utter helplessness leads to intense prayer from the bottom of our heart. It's a plain truth. Otherwise, we may feel we can manage, we will try. We will try also. And we should try also. But when we are totally helpless, instead of becoming tensed up, instead of becoming dispirited, dejected, we can take refuge in Him. We may not have completely surrendered. We would not have been able to bring Him into the picture totally. But at least now God is giving us some moments in our life where He makes us to feel totally helpless so that we will remember Him sincerely. We take it like that. Because only in times of utter helplessness the prayer will come from the bottom of the heart, otherwise the prayer will come from the superficial level. Kindly think about it. The second one is inner voice. Prayers are answered intuitively from the core of our being. Now we also know that Papa made us to think that if the moment I become aware of the inner voice, the tangible, palpable gain is that I have a first-hand experience that He is within me. So our prayer is now, make me aware of your presence at least for a fraction of a second. I may not be fit. There are so many things that are to be wiped out from me, agreed. But still somewhere in the corner of my mind, I have been pining to have your darshan. I am doing so many things under that pretext. Chanting of Ram Nam, bhajans, satsang, swadhyay. So many things I am doing. So why don't you please make me aware through a glimpse of your presence? Because the moment he accedes to that request, from the knowledge level we come to the experiential level that he is within us. Until such time he is only a concept, to be very blunt. We may see him in deities if our devotion is to that extent. We may see him in Mahatmas if our devotion is to that extent, but never in our heart. That is why those who have got even total devotion to the deities in the temple, they are blessed with so many experiences, positive experiences, but still they have not been blessed with the experience that he is within us. And by using the word great void, Papa is throwing some light on the attributes of the Lord. He is not zero, but he is not of any knowable contents. That is why he is called great void. All knowables are in it. And it remains untouched and unaffected. Just like the space. Space in anything, even in a bucket. The bucket is unconditional, it does not bother whether it is clean water or dirty water, whether it is sweet payasam or a bitter gourd sambar, it will not get affected. It is available to us, untouched, unaffected. Some idea about the attributes of the Lord. Go to the source of everything. That alone will make us to at least first intellectually and then gradually experientially. That the diversity that we are seeing outside will not be there only when we go to the source. Whatever said and done, we would have read so many things, we would have heard so many things, but still the otherness is still there in our mind. So only by going to the source, this is something, all these points are to be always with us, otherwise it's difficult. Next one is intense faith leads to trust. We should not be satisfied with merely faith, but we should have trust in Him. We keep on praying. We have faith in Him, but whether we have trust in Him, each one can answer it. That means total dependence. Your money is my money is my money. We will say that faith is there, but there is no difference between you and me. But the trust is something we are handing over the whole thing to Him. This is the word he heard from the great void, from Ram. Trust me. Despair not, trust me. And preparatory steps, fixed resolve, sustained faith, optimistic outlook, self-denial, satsang through Swadhyaya. All these are covered in first step. Then, code of conduct. Simple living habits to gain more mind space for God remembrance. Simple living habits. And most important, introspection, periodical introspection to know whether the me and mine or sense of possession is reducing. Every now and then God will put us to test on these two aspects, the me and mine and sense of possession. And finally, remember Him be the period ever so small. That means we have to be on the process rather than hearing and doing it. No? I'll do it from tomorrow. No, from now onwards. Today I'm extremely busy. It's all right. You get 1 second. One Ramnam can, which nobody can say no. So these are all the 9 practical hints for us. Utter helplessness leads to intense prayer from the bottom of the heart. Prayers are answered intuitively from the core of our being. Inner voice. Great void stands for the all-enveloping reality, which remains ever untouched and unaffected by the different characteristics that separate one from the rest. Just like my body, there are so many organs, but I don't treat them as separate. The moment I identify myself totally with the body, there is nothing separate. Otherwise, eyes are different from ear, ear is different from nose, nose is different from tongue, tongue is different from hand, hand is different from leg, feet. Like that, and everything is different. But when I identify with the entire thing, it becomes one. Great void. Go to the source of everything. That also we know, suppose we get some fever or something like that, and we manage with some Dolopar or something, again then naturally, blood test should be taken to find out the cause, diagnosis. So to have proper diagnosis, you should have this, So go to the source. For anything and everything, go to the source. Intense faith leads to trust. Preparatory steps. Let us try as much as possible. Fixed resolve, sustained faith, optimistic outlook. Along with that, self-denial and satsang through swadhyaya. Simple living habits to gain more mind space for God remembrance. Comfort zones are reduced to the extent possible. Introspection, periodical introspection to know whether the me and mine or sense of possession is reducing. And finally, remember him, be the period ever so small. Out of this 9, do we remember anything now? Because we are sitting before a book. You are not having any book.
Swamiji, intense prayer and then sustained faith, fixed resolve, sustained faith, optimistic outlook.
Correct. Then, very good.
Swamiji, introspection periodically is very important. We must remember him, be the period ever so small.
Very good. Yes.
After go to the source, we must go to the source.
Source, correct.
Trust Swami.
Trust, very good. Very important. At least. So while chanting Ram Nam, suppose we remember any of these, we can add it in our prayer, no? I am chanting.
Svadhyaya, code of conduct.
Code of conduct. Simple living habits. So we pray to him. We are chanting the name to give us bless us with any of these, please. Because we want the result now. We can no more be in the process and no. It has to have a full stop. So utter helplessness, prayer, some idea about him who is within me, and sustained faith, fixed resolve, self-denial, simple living habits. Faith should lead us to trust. Periodical introspection, just like, monthly tests, quarterly tests, half-yearly tests we had in the school. We will try for ourselves. We need not inform.
Vision we are having.
Vision. He's having vision, it seems. I think the monthly vision.
Theoretical test, monthly.
Monthly test is vision.
That aspect we have not brought in. Here, by test what we meant was whether we are living up to that,
Yes, sir.
Suppose on Ekadashi day, we limit our food or restrict it to some quantity or some specifics. At that time, we can also spend about half an hour or 1 hour and to see whether we are blessed to have some control over the sense organs. It is a self-evaluation, no? We don't need any certificate from anybody. So we are trying to understand whether the pull is there. When sense organs try to rush up to sense objects, have we been in a position to to control, no? With the help of Ramnam. So these are all from the first chapter. We'll come back to it again and again. And when we go to the second chapter, renunciation is throwing ourselves entirely at His mercy. Renunciation is tested only by exposing ourselves to the outer world. Is tested. Because when we are staying in a particular place, we get used to it. We do not know which are all still there in our mind, lingering. So when we expose ourselves, everything will come out. Suppose you have not talked to anybody, we do not know whether the ego is still there, no? Whether I go on asserting myself or my rights and wrongs are predominating me, or my likes and dislikes are predominating me. Only when I go there, when I go out and see things, what is happening in me, have I been able to become indifferent? Udasina bhava is there. Or I identify myself, I may not say it outside, but internally I feel restless, irritated. I get irritated. Consequently, there is total mental turmoil. So that is why he said, renunciation is tested only by exposing ourselves. Before taking any drastic step in the spiritual journey, seek guidance from masters. This is to ensure that it is not coming out of an impulse. We get a lot of emails expressing in 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines, 4 lines that they would like to dedicate their entire life to ashram. So we tell them ashram does not encourage anyone to stay here on a longer period or on a permanent basis. However, you are welcome to visit and stay for 10 days and check up whether you get answers for your questions. 99% they don't. So that means one particular moment God pushes them to seek, but later on it evaporates. So that's why he said, before taking any drastic step in the spiritual journey, seek guidance from masters. Inner dialogue takes place only when the hold of the sense of individuality lessens. Very important. Inner dialogue which should take place, in the second chapter if you find inner dialogue. Purely inner dialogue. Papa's great success we can attribute that he had developed this inner dialogue with the indwelling reality right from the starting point. Because he was aware he is within, number one. Then only you can have a dialogue. And that inner dialogue keeps on remembering that he is within, he is guiding, he is leading, he has been with you, he is with you. All those things is answered. So inner dialogue takes place only when the hold of the sense of individuality lessens. That means the me and mine. When the me and mine predominates, we will not hear the inner voice at all. Because we are within ourselves only, we are not having a dialogue. We are not trying to have any contact with him. And removing the sense of I-ness is a must. When this word is said, now it becomes very clear to all of us. Previously we thought, the I should be removed first. It can't be removed. The blunt truth is it can't be removed. Then what does Papa mean by that? In the previous, he says, Men are deluded when they declare, I do this, I do that, this is mine, that is mine. All our arm is thine. All things are done by thee alone. Thy slave's one prayer to thee is to take him under thy complete guidance and remove his highness. That means the thought that I am independent, whereas I exist only because of him, that I is okay, relevant. But the I which forgets about the indwelling reality and arrogates that it is absolutely powerful, independent, that I remove his I-ness. We should be clear about it. Prayer becomes most effective when it is original and in one's own words. However much we repeat, we have seen that every day we are repeating universal prayer, peace prayer, and Arati slokas. We have to check up whether there is an effort on, we would not have been able to succeed, but is there an effort on our part to live up to? Does that prayer, because it is not drafted by me. The moment I read, I get enthused. After 2 or 3 days, the euphoria gets evaporated. It becomes a ritual. That is why, in Papa's case, the universal prayer was drafted by him. Initially, it inspires us, but later on, when we go through his books, we find that it should become one's own prayer in one's own way, original. Total detachment paves the way to take the final plunge. While doing so, ensure that there are no loose ends at the vyavaharic level. When the mind is absolutely clear, when we take the plunge, But even before taking the plunge, we suddenly remember there are many factors that were taken care of. That is not the right way. God has been providing various factors for us to exist. So we should also equally be responsive and sensitive to God's such facilitation. It is not coming out of attachment, it is also an obligation on our part to do it. So when Papa left, he wrote 2 letters, one to his wife, the other one to the person who is taken care of. Because the family should not suffer. That thought also God has given to him. So total detachment paves the way to take the final plunge. While doing so, ensure that there are no loose ends at the vyavaharic level. Even in the ashram case we can take, That means the so-called vyavaharik is also his. Vyavaharik dealings is not separated from God's will. Otherwise, why should Papa leave a trust deed in 1954? When somebody suggested that we should have a trust deed, he immediately acceded to that, So everything is God's play. Normally we get confused. That confusion comes because we have in our mind separated, these are the realm of God, these are the realm of Vyavahar. And we find Vyavahar has no no place, no relevance in God's scheme. Everything has got place in God's scheme. Our identification with it should be Pondicherry. Previously, we were identifying that it is independent of godliness. Now we identify it as a part of the godliness. That's the only thing. Again, we will read, there are about 7 points in second chapter. Renunciation is throwing ourselves entirely at His mercy. Renunciation is tested only by exposing ourselves to the outer world. Before taking any drastic step in the spiritual journey, seek guidance from masters. Inner dialogue takes place only when the hold of the sense of individuality lessens. Removing the sense of I-ness is a must. Prayer becomes most effective when it is original and in one's own words. Total detachment paves the way to take the final plunge. While doing so, ensure that there are no loose ends at the Vyavaharic level. Anybody would? Huh? So first we had 9, now we have 17, sorry 7, totally 16. To us we have the book before us, to you don't have any book. So you have to absolutely rely on what is heard, you know. That is why we are every time checking up whether something of it goes inside. So from the second chapter, any point that strikes out, stands out in our memory. You want us to read again?
Yes, Swamiji.
Huh?
Please.
One more.
Yes, Swamiji.
Renunciation is throwing ourselves entirely at His mercy, number 1. Rama. Renunciation is tested. It's tested only by exposing ourselves to the outer world. Before taking any drastic step in the spiritual journey, seek guidance from the masters. Inner dialogue takes place only when the hold of the sense of individuality reduces. Removing the sense of I-ness is a must. Prayer becomes most effective when it is original and in one's own words. And finally, total detachment paves the way to take the final plunge. While doing so, ensure that there are no loose ends at the Vyavaharic level. Huh?
Last point.
Total detachment paves the way to take the final plunge. Because before we take the plunge, we have to check up whether it is out of an impulsive act. Even in our mind, a trace of attachment is there, it is difficult to hold on. But at the same time, before taking that plunge, what the life that so far we have been living, it also is valid, it is not invalid. So it has to be wound up in the way in which it is to be done. Suppose there are some dependents, we try to do whatever is possible Suppose we have bank account, we have to close it. Suppose you have got a landed property, we should make a proper arrangement for its devolution. Something like that. All these things are vyavaharik. So far we have been thinking under the banner of spirituality, all these have no relevance. No. Nothing is irrelevant. Only our attitude changes, that's all. There was a time when we were thinking, ashram does not mobilize, does not ask anything from anybody. God gives the prompting for them to send us an offering or place the love offering. So why should this government intervene? No? Now we have to make an account, we have to submit the return. So we thought, this is different from spirituality. Later on, then only we understand that is also God's play, To bring in the statute is also God's play. So in the vyavaharik field, such things are necessary. In their view, it is not that whether you are not mobilizing or something like that. To them, you are handling a public money. So when the public money is there, you are accountable. That is why you have to every year give all the income and expenditure account. Account should be audited. You have to present it before them. So that simple thing, We still remember one more incident that took place. That must have been in mid-90s. I think we have shared this in the Satsang, but for the sake of new one. We were at that time mostly working in the office with the computer. So many things. So one person came and sat there and we asked him, yes, please. So he said, I am an income tax officer. So he immediately said, yes sir, what is that you want? Then he said, I was sitting in Puja Swamiji's room. Many people come, Swamiji gives left and right. I am 100% convinced whatever Swamiji does is perfect. But tomorrow if there is any inquiry from our superiors, we are unable to tell them that this is not supported by vouchers. And I don't want to say this to Puja Swamiji. Because whatever he does is right. Absolutely 100% perfect. But in the Vyavahara, we have to do this. We said, certainly we will do it from today onwards. So we went to Swamiji's room and we told Swamiji, the person who was sitting here was Mr. Ahmad. He is the income tax officer. He was seeing Swamiji disposing many petitions here. But he says it will be better if we have some records for this. Immediately Swamiji what should be done? We should have everything, every time we should have this voucher application, something to something to support his request from the Vyavaharik level. From that day onwards, everything was switched over. Not a word from Swamiji. It's all right, we are not. Then we realized, this is also God's, that is also God's. It has not struck to us, and now God is suggesting us to somebody. So from that day onwards, we have been meticulously following all these directions. So there is no divide between Vyavaharik and the Adhyatmic. This is a very important point, So while taking the plunge also, or before taking the plunge also, if we try to reduce the gap between this Vyavaharik and Adhyatmic, it will help us a lot. Ultimately, we will know. Now, when we chant Ramnam, we feel, we are trying to remember him. During the non-chanting time, So there is still a divide. Only during chanting time we are trying to remember. Then rest of the things that God is not there. So now we pray, though you made us to chant your name, it was with the intention that I should be able to feel your presence even during the non-chanting time.
Swamiji,
Ah,
God is already inside.
ah.
If it is so, by remembrance or without remembrance, he is still in us.
He is there.
He is there.
Ah.
Then why this word, remembrance comes?
Why?
Because
Why does the word remembrance come when he is there, whether we remember him or not?
Not necessary.
don't
If
have-
we remember always, if we remember him always, we don't have to remember him.
because it is an permanently, always.
If we remember him always, there should not be any effort to remember him. Because remembrance has come to us. Because we are trying to remember, because we have forgotten him.
He is telling Swamiji, because he is inside, in any case.
That is what because we should be aware, we should be aware that he is there.
He is there.
We are now only borrowing the words of somebody.
The word remembrance itself is a mystic, isn't it?
No, just a minute. Now we are saying that he is within us. We are borrowing the words of somebody and repeating it. We are not remembering him. It is only an intellectual acceptance, that's all. Because Papa says we don't question it, but at the same time, we are not remembering him. Remembrance means, every moment these words are coming because of him. That is remembrance. That experience. So when we say when he is there within us, why should we remember him? We need not remember him the moment we come to know that he is within us. We are trying to remember him because we are not aware of his presence within. We have forgotten him. We are using. Forgotten there are two individual sense of individuality in us.
Yes.
One individuality which is called the ripe ego, which is aware of his presence. The second one is the unripe ego, which does not accept him experientially. That it arrogates. So long as this small I is there, unripe ego is there, we have to do some process. We have to be in some process by which we remember him. So we have to remember. We have to try our level best to remember him, because remembrance, Papa used to say, remembrance is darshan. Remembrance is not merely an intellectual play. It is an experience. That these words are coming because of him only. These words are heard because of him only. The hand moves because of him only. The thought comes because of him only. That is what is called remembrance. It is not that we are trying to learn a new process called remembering. Just like in Vyavaharik, when they say, I don't remember where exactly I have kept it. It is not that remembrance. This remembrance is what is our original nature, which we have forgotten, which we want to become aware of. The one which is there within us. That is why Papa, that simple word, you are chanting the name of one who is within you, who is making you to chant. If he is making me to chant, he is making me to talk now. He is making me to hear now. He is making me to see now. The whole thing, we still have in our mind a divide. So that Papa wants us to pass through that. So again, this 7 plus 9, 16 points, out of which 2 or 3 we might remember, no?
Inner dialogue happens when there is no
சுவாமிஜி,
ideas.
தமிழ்ல கடைசியில் அந்த இதுல 2வது சாப்டர்ல லாஸ்ட் பாயிண்ட், முற்றிலும் அசையற்ற ஆசையற்ற தன்மை இறுதியாக ஆழ்ந்து மூன்று வழி செய்யும். அவ்வாறு செய்யும் பொழுது
Tamil.
விவகாரங்களில் தீர்க்கப்படாத முடிவுகள், அது என்ன தீர்க்கப்படாத முடிவுகள்?
என்னது?
தீர்க்கப்படாத முடிவுகள் எதுவும் இல்லாமல் பார்த்துக் கொள்ளுங்கள். See that nothing pending is there.
That loose ends. Loose ends.
அந்த டிரான்ஸ்லேஷன் எவ்வளோ சரியாச்சுன்னு தெரியாது. ஐ திங்க் தெர் இஸ் சம் நாட் கிளியர். அது அது லூசன்ஸுக்கு அப்படி டிரான்ஸ்லேட் பண்ணால் சரியாகாது. அந்த ஐடியா வரதோ தெரியாது எனக்கு. வாட் இஸ் மென்ட் இஸ் யூனோ வி மஸ்ட் நாட் சிம்பிளி அதான் படித்தோம் இல்லையா? while doing so ensure that there are no loose ends at the vyavaharic level. What is meant is, just like we explained, when Papa decided to take the final plunge so that nobody will be in dark. And second thing is, he wrote 2 letters. Same night wrote 2 letters, one to his wife whom Ram had made him look upon for some time past as his sister, and another to a kind friend whom Ram had brought in touch with Ramdas for his deliverance from debts. So he did not simply walk out, you know. He did not do that. This is what is meant by no loose ends, vyavaharic. That is also God's will, you know. Normally, when we say vyavaharic, we detach it from our spiritual path, spiritual journey. Unknowingly, we have separated it. But by the 2 words, Papa is telling us, whatever you do, you should be done like this. Everything is godly. That is why we said, you know, in 1954, he had the prompting, you know, to write a trust deed. God will take care. God arranges all things in his own way at the time he appoints. He did not say one-sided. This was also God's prompting, you know, through a judge. We were told that when they were planning to go for a 6 months yatra, foreign yatra, at that time the judge proposed, better you leave that is why the deed was registered in Bombay. Immediately Papa said, okay. That is how Anandashram Trust came into being. And after Papa's exit from the scene, institution survived, you know. Previously, all records were in his name. Land records and everything was in his name. So in that particular trust deed, all the lands were included in the schedule. So it became an institution. And we now we can see after 54 to 2024 means 70 years. It has come to stay. So God's will is not separated from anything. This is very important. So we people, we have not understood it. We have divided it vyavaharika and adhyatmik. So taking a plunge comes under adhyatmik. Vyavaharika has no relation. So here Papa has blended it. Nothing is irrelevant. So that is what is meant by the loose ends. We don't Many times, it happens. Out of this thing, people go out without informing. Rest of the people become panicky. They don't know where they are. That is not the right method. So 9 plus 7, 16. Any points out of these 16?
Highness.
Swamiji,
Ah,
Highness.
we will seek guidance from masters before taking any drastic step.
correct. Because out of our anxiety, or what you call preference, we would like to do something. Whether it is from the matured level or not, they will be able to tell us. That is why even people, when they are fired with the idea that they should take to a mendicant's life, they will go and consult a Swami, and the Swami will tell them, no, don't do it, or do it, because the Swami will be able to tell him the time is not ripe or the time is ripe. In Papa's case, he consulted 3 masters, through books. And everywhere he got that approval. He originally, the prompting came, why not we trust him wholly? To leave everything. From the narrow pond of a worldly life, Ram had lifted up his slave to throw him into the extensive ocean of a universal life. But to swim in the wide ocean, Ram knew Ramdas wanted strength and courage, for gaining which Ram intended to make his ignorant and untrained slave to pass through a course of severe discipline, and this under his direct guidance and support. So one night, while engaged in drinking the sweetness, all those things, and then finally, the prayer was heard. Ramdas's heart heaved a deep sigh, a hazy desire to renounce all and wander over the earth in the garb of a mendicant wafted over his mind. Now, see, Ram prompted him to open at random, the book, Light of Asia. And then New Testament, then Bhagavad Gita. Ram had thus spoken out through the words of these great avatars, and all of them pointed to the same truth of renunciation. At once Ramdas made up his mind. This is what he said. Consult. Then he got the approval. See the way in which Papa was guided, Foolproof.
Yes, Swamiji.
And even to take this plunge, it was not a momentary step. When we go through the passage of divinity, we will find that he said, when he's going to break, that particular word I forgot, break the chains. So when Sanjeev Rao came, when he heard this, he knew something serious is being worked out by Papa. So he immediately told his elder brother Sitaram Rao, is he planning to go away? Then he said, no, he won't go away because he was passing through worst periods. At that time also he has not gone away. But again Sanjeev Rao said, no, I feel he is planning something. There is a particular word he used. Break the chains, When am I going to break? Break. Snapping the bonds. That is the word. That night, reviewing the conversation, it struck me that Vittal Rao was in dead earnest when he declared his intention of snapping the bonds. I expressed my fear regarding the subject to Sitaram Rao, who just foo-fooed the whole matter, adding how even when things were considerably less bright, Vittal Rao had not thought of giving up the world. His assurance did not satisfy me. After my return to Ernakulam, Sanjeev Rao is it, I had news from time to time how, like a sannyasin, Vittal Rao was living, first reducing the meals from 2 to 1, later giving up and also living on boiled potatoes. Naturally, the self-denial on his part brought great anxiety to his relations. I wrote urging that due to dear father's old age, he should not go on with the fast. He was taking a fast. My letter brought a prompt but brief reply. It said that since he began the fast, he felt, if anything, better than before. He was trying it as an experiment. The letter ended with the statement that he has realized the hollowness of life. I did not pursue the matter as I knew it was useless. Snapping the bonds, So it was not suddenly you decide and go out. It has been, building up in his mind. And everything was done, then only he wanted to avoid any scenes, So he saw to it, waited for them, and Chandrasekhar Rao beautifully says, God also conspired to see that both of them, Rame and his wife, they were away for 2 days to some relations. At that time, Papa left. But he wrote this letter. When suppose we try to rise distant from, keep distance from Papa and look at ourselves, then we will be able to understand it better. Otherwise, it is his experience. But he conveys something by doing it and expressing it in this book. In what way it will benefit me, So I should not do anything just because a prompting comes, I do it. Whether the prompting comes from him or not, I should verify, So far, the so-called me and mine was prompting. And one fine morning, I cannot say God prompts me. I only know whether God prompts me or my own me prompts me. So that he gave the leverage. So snapping the bonds he was thinking about it, and at the appropriate time, God prompted him to take the final plunge. More of it tomorrow. Hariyo. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. Pranam, Pranam, Pranam. Pranam. Hari Om. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. Pranam, Pranam. Pranam.